All right. So let's go ahead and get started since we are a couple minutes after the start time. So welcome everybody to the at-home songwriting guided lyric exercise day or workshop. What we're going to do today is I'm going to give you some prompts and some step-by-step instructions on some lyric writing and see what we all kind of come up with. I'll try to do it on my own as well, but running the meeting and kind of all of that stuff gets to be a little bit much, but I'm more curious about what you all write and how it goes for you. So I am going to jump in and share my screen. So what are we doing today? So we're going to practice some lyric writing exercises. I also want you all to know that this is a safe space, so don't feel like you have to feel bad if you are struggling with part of it. Also, don't be afraid to share with the group. It's definitely a supportive environment. Hopefully, you'll be vulnerable. Don't be shy. We're all here to share and support each other and learn the craft of lyric writing and learn the craft of songwriting. And remember, we're not here to compete. It's all about having fun and seeing what sort of new ideas we can come up with and just have a good time. So step one for our writing exercise, I know we're kind of jumping in quickly right away here today. So just take a minute or two and pick one of these titles. So read through each one, see if there's a title that stands out to you and one that inspires you or gives you an idea right away, and just pick one of the titles, and we'll move on here in just a moment once everybody gets their title chosen. And just write that in your notebook or on your page, wherever you're writing. And the titles are Will You Teach Me, Hard Life, Afraid of Losing, Amazing Sunset, Too Much, and Good Night. And while you're selecting your title, I should say too that if you want to put comments or questions in the chat, that definitely works. Or you can use the raise hand function if you have any questions while we're going through this in the reactions section on the bottom of your screen. All right, so how are we doing? Do you have your titles selected? Stu's got a thumbs up. Everybody else, you good? Victor, you good? Perfect. So the next step in this process and the next step in writing is I want you to take your title and I want you to write down the answers to these questions and maybe write down the questions themselves as well, so you remember what we're talking about. So I want you to write down who would be singing the song. So who is the character and who are they singing to? So it may be yourself, right? Because you may be the singer-songwriter, but think about who would you be singing this song to? So write down who's singing the song, who are they singing it to? Where is your song idea happening? So where could the location be? When is it happening? Like, what is the time frame? That could be a big time frame, like that could be past, present, future, or you could be very specific. The more specific you are, the more detailed you can get in your writing. So maybe it's after something happened or before something happened, or is it right after a phone call? Is it right before someone comes home or right before someone leaves? Like, what is the time frame? And usually the more specific you can get, the more detailed and relatable some of your information can be. Also think, what is happening in your song? So from your title, what could be happening? And then what are the characters feeling? What's the emotion that surrounds your title? So think about the title that you selected and just take a few minutes and write down all of the answers to these questions, and then we'll move forward to the next phase. So I'll give you a few minutes to concentrate and think about your title and how you could develop it with these questions. Looks like Pele's given a thumbs up. Must be completed. Everybody else need a little bit more time? Okay. Looks like got a thumbs up from David too. Jeanette's good. All right, we're getting more thumbs up, so we'll give it just a few more seconds here. Victor's ready too. Awesome. So that's our step number 2. So we picked a title and we answered these questions. So you have all of your answers there in front of you. So now step number 3, what we're going to do is select your who, when, and where, and kind of picture the scene in your mind. And what we're going to do is do a free writing from your senses for about 5 minutes, and I'll set a timer for this. But what I want you to do is think of the scene in your mind and write what you are seeing from your senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, and then how are things moving within the scene. So really try to really describe the best you can from each of those senses. And as you're writing, maybe look up at the screen and you know, if you start to run out of sight things, then move on to sound. What are things tasting like? What do they feel like? What's the smell? Those types of things. So I'm gonna set my timer. And then what I want you to do is write from the scene of your who, your when, or your where. You can try to do all 3, but you could just pick one as well. But we'll take 5 minutes, and then we'll come and go to step number 4 after we do our sense-based free writing. And we'll start now. All right. So that is our 5 minutes. So we'll give everybody a chance to finish up writing whatever line they're on or whatever thought they're on here. So that was step number 3. Now, step number 4, I would like you to look at your writing, and you don't have to necessarily stick to 4 lines. You could write a longer section if you want to. But a good place to start, a good template to start for writing a first verse is you can start with 4 lines and sort of build from there. But your job of a first verse is to really establish the who, the when, the where, and the what is happening, and then maybe start to introduce a little bit of what the character is feeling. So, what I'd like to do next is take some time and have you write a section where you establish a who and a when or and you don't have to necessarily use this exact template, but you can you do something similar where you include all of the information, the who, the when, the where, and the what, and then what's the character feeling. Usually the feeling would be at the end after you show us what's happening, then you tell. But I'd like you to write a first verse that would be leading to your hook. And your hook is your title, right? So we're going to write a first verse. As an example of what this may look like, here's a section that I had written just kind of before when I put this together. So I have this November morning, fog matches my mood. I stare out over a solemn gray field. My fragile world has crumbled into pieces. No idea how I will heal my heart. So it's a very unstable section. There's not a lot of rhyme that happens, and you don't necessarily have to worry about rhyme at this point. We just want to get the who, the when, the where. So on this first line, I have who with the my, and when is November morning. And then I stare out over a solemn gray field. That's kind of a where. And then what's going on? My world has crumbled into pieces. And then how am I feeling? I have no idea how I'm going to heal my heart. So that's the section. So again, try to use lines from what you just wrote in your sense-based information. So scan what you've written and see if you can put together a first verse that includes all of this information. And you can use this as a template to help you sort of put that together. So um, why don't we take some time to write, and then if you get to a point where you feel like you've gotten your verse down, either put a thumbs up in the chat or just say like ready in the chat, and then that way we know when to kind of move forward, since I'm not quite sure how long this will take, but I'll be curious to see what everybody writes for their first verse. So any questions on this piece? If not, give it a shot and we'll come back and we'll move on. I've seen a couple thumbs up popping up here. We'll keep going for a few more minutes while people finish up. Looks like we got Victor, Suzanne, Pele, Michael, Tamara. It's like popcorn. Dory's got a thumbs up too. We'll just give it about a minute more. Let people kind of start finishing, and then the next step in the process is going to be sharing the verses that we've written. So Chuck's done too. I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share here. So who wants to be brave and go first and share first the title that you selected and then read the verse that you had written? Tamara, did I see your hand go up? Okay, yeah, go for it. Oh, you're on mute.
I chose the title, Afraid of Losing.
Awesome.
My first verse is, when Mike and I are eating dinner at home in the kitchen, we start to discuss. I'm worried and Mike is annoyed.
So yeah, so that leaves us so what are you discussing, right? Like that gives us the question of like what's being discussed. And so yeah, so explain your thought process, like the who and when and where and how you came to that.
Well, the who is Mike and I, and it's in at home in the kitchen, and it's happening when we're having dinner, and it's really that I'm worried about him, and he just thinks I'm worried about nothing.
Awesome. Well done. Notice how, as you listen to these, the who, the when, and the where, and sort of what and how people are feeling, that's information that's very important for your listener to know whether or not they can relate to what's going on. So it's a good idea to include that in your writing. Chuck, you have your hand raised as well.
Yeah, I'll share this verse. I rarely talk about, but what things are about, but because it's an exercise, I think it's important here. So this actually took place in 2010 on a beach in New Jersey. Somebody who I was involved with a relationship, and so this comes from a very real place. I'm actually very happy with this start, and this is goes with the title "Afraid of Losing." And this happens to be a situation where the other person was at a crossroads whether they wanted to continue the relationship or not. And this moment took place on a beach. And the verse goes, there's no escaping this day, nor the wind or the rain, like your footsteps in the sand. Sometimes life's erased by the waves. And that's the start. That's the first 4 lines of the verse.
Awesome.
Pretty good start, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. And hopefully all of you see that starting with a title and asking yourself these questions can really take you in a direction and figuring it out. So thanks, Chuck. Brian, how about you?
Yeah. Okay. I chose Too Much is the title. And here's the verse. Gripping the steering wheel tight, rain pouring down, just want to make it home. Dark and cold, just past midnight, a couple more hours to ride.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good imagery. It sets a great scene. Yeah, I'll be curious to see where you take it when we go into the chorus writing part of it, but awesome.
Yeah. How am I gonna get to too much? You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking
Yep.
about all the cars whipping in and out of traffic and stuff like that, and it's like stressful, man. Too
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
it's too much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dory, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, hi, Chad. I chose Hard Life. Mama saved us Mama saved us when our little souls were crushed. That night we ran away from a dad who drank too much, beaten and battered, living through hell. Mama held us in that cheap motel. She was our shield out of harm's way and said, "Don't cry. I got something to say."
Wow. Nice. Do you see how everybody's nodding their heads and everybody's reacting? I think because these questions, the who, what, when, where, all of those are your best friends when it comes to setting a scene and pulling your listener in. So awesome work, Dory. That was great.
Thank you.
Victor.
Okay, well, here's my verse. Chad, this stuff actually works. You know that just a few short months ago, I was a sense-writing atheist, and many of the techniques that you've been corrupting me with, I was very suspicious of. But this is the fastest. This isn't a finished lyric, but it's a song. It's an outline, and I've never written one quite that fast. It needs a lot of work, but I'm kind of tickled that I was able to barf this out of myself in just a few minutes. So I'm sitting in my car as the sun goes down behind me, staring across the parking lot as people come and go. My engine's off. I'm going nowhere, nowhere without you, but having you just feels like too much.
Ooh, so you got the hook in there.
Yeah, and I fear I'm in danger of writing a country song.
Oh, I don't know. That didn't feel necessarily country to me. I think that could be about anything. But yeah, that was great. That was great, Victor.
Thank you.
David.
Yeah, I chose Too Much as well, but I what made me choose that was I saw my parents this past weekend. I visited them up north, and I realized that they're both in good health, but that we are all getting older. So I realized as I was looking around, I'm like, man, they have too much stuff. And then and then I started thinking, I have too much stuff. So I kind of wrote it in the mindset of, one day my stuff might become a burden to those I leave behind. So my lines are: stuck in place as your present moves forward, everywhere and nowhere you're beyond reach. As my joys become your burdens, I feel nothing but longing and guilt.
Wow. Yeah. So what's cool about this is none of you came to this meeting knowing what I was going to give to you as a prompt, right? So I love the different ways that you are all taking just a simple title and taking it different directions. So awesome. Nice job, David. Stu.
I've got, just bring my lyric up. A normal Thursday at work, no more. The day I met Colette. Who is this filling all my vision? Seems I can see nothing but her. And the title I chose was Too Much.
Awesome. That makes me wonder where you're going next with the song, which will be awesome. Yeah. And if anybody wants to type in the chat, you definitely can do that with your lyrics too, and then I can read them. I saw Razael said that she might have some lines to type, so definitely go for that, Razael. Jeanette.
All right, that was just too much. I too have something about too much. So mine is like basically this really did happen. So when last week, who is you, that person who I met online, where so last week, you, another online disaster, another app to meet, what would have been potential, but nothing at all, just too much, but to no avail. What the character's feeling, I felt another chain broken. I felt disconnected and disappointed.
Got it. Cool. Awesome. Nice work. Razael has she wrote 3 years ago today, you said goodbye, headed for your new home in the sky. It makes me so happy to believe you're not alone. I imagine all your dark clouds drift away, singing carols on Christmas Day. Awesome. Roselle says that was about her mom that passed away 3 years ago today. Yeah, that's a great great tribute. That was great. Anybody else want to share their verses? Daniel.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So I came a little late. I wasn't sure about what I was doing. I just did this now as everyone was doing their verse because I wasn't sure that we had to choose one. So I went with too much. Um, Originally, it had started as a typical day, but then I realized that you gave us the prompt and I wasn't here for that. That said, here we go.
Sure.
The moment I wake up, the battle starts. Laying in bed, mistakes run through my heart. My mind, that space just needs a spark to break through and win today and leave the dark. That's all I have.
Awesome. I wanted you to keep going, so that's a good start.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so now that you have a verse, I want to show you all a way that you can start to develop a chorus. So there's a few common chorus structures or chorus templates that a lot of songs will fall into. And basically you have your title, right? So you have your title. So we're going to call that a T line or a title line. You also have lines in a title that are not the title, right? So we're going to call those swing lines and we're going to show those as a dash. So we're going to have a combination of T's and dashes to show you some varying ways to put together a chorus. But the first step in writing a chorus is to take your title. So step one, write 2 to 3 lines that relate to the title and communicate the emotion you intend in the song. So like for Brian's song, being in traffic and being overwhelmed and like everything's too much, he may write too much and then one line might be like, you know, so much traffic. The next one might be so stressed out. And then there might be other lines like too much happening or something. So take your title and then write 2 to 3 lines that relate to the title. And don't worry about rhyming. Don't worry about structure or anything at this point. Just write 2 to 3 lines that relate back to your title. So everybody do that now, and we'll take a few minutes, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what to do with those lines. So again, take whatever your title is, look at what your verse is, and then write 2 to 3 lines that relate to that emotion and that relate to the title. So we'll come back in just a few moments and go from there. And go ahead and give a thumbs up or put it in the chat when you're ready as well. All right, so we'll give it just a couple more minutes. Looks like we're getting more thumbs up. Perfect. So the next step in the process is once you have those 2 to 3 lines, you then can start dropping the lines into a template. And I'm going to give you the templates here in a moment. So what the chorus templates are is a combination of title lines, so lines that include your title, and then lines that don't include your title, or which are known as the swing lines. So the title, or the quickest way to write a chorus, is just repeat your title. So you could repeat your title, 2 to 4 times. So your chorus may look something like that. The next type of chorus that you could write is swing line, title, swing line, title. So you'd have a line and then a title line and then a line and then your title line. You could also have a title, swing line, title, swing line. So it's kind of the opposite where you have your title line, a swing line, a title, and then a swing line. You could also have title, swing line, swing line, swing line. Whoops, it's going to make, so it would look something like that. A lot of country music then is going to be a lot of lines, swing line, swing line, swing line, and then your title, where the title's at the end, the hook comes at the end. You also have, you can bookend your chorus as well. So you would have title, swing line, and then title. So what I'd like you to do is now take your title and the 2 to 3 lines that you've written and select one of these structures or one of these templates. Or if you feel really like you want to overachieve, is take and try to put your title and the lines into all of these 6 different structures and see which one feels the best or which one communicates the best. So I see Daniel asked, what's a swing line in the chat? So a swing line is a line that is not the title. So it's the other lines that don't include your song title, and it doesn't include the hook, which would be the title line. So take a few minutes and select either one or multiple of these templates here and put your title and your swing lines together and see what kind of chorus you can come up with. And then what I'd like us to do is, after we do this exercise, then have a share again where you read your verse into your chorus to give us a full sense of how is your song progressing. But just try to take and use one of these templates and try to massage your lines in there as best you can, and just give a thumbs up when you get finished. Looks like a few people are starting to wrap up here. Give it just a couple more minutes before we move on. All right. So who would like to share their verse and then read into the chorus that they've written? So kind of give us the sense of like first verse through chorus, and obviously these are first drafts. So don't feel bad if it doesn't quite work, because the idea here is there's two different sides to when you're writing. There's the creation side and there's the editing side. And you don't want to go into the editing side too early, because that's when writer's block starts to creep in, because you start judging too soon. Victor, do you want to read what you have so far?
Yeah, I'll be brave. I was in radio for a number of years. I'm used to falling down in public. So again,
Me too.
again, this is an outline, but it feels like kind of a direction. So I'll reiterate the verse. I'm sitting in my car as the sun goes down behind me, staring across the parking lot as people come and go. My engine's off. I'm going nowhere, nowhere without you, but having you just feels like too much. And then the verse is, too much is not enough, but how much is enough? Wanting more and having more, just make sure it's all too much.
Awesome. Yeah, that feels like a verse and a chorus. How are you feeling about that, Victor?
I'm still feeling like it all could be refined a little bit, but it feels like a direction.
Awesome.
It feels like there's some kind of form that I could then plug final lyrics into. And I just wanted to say to David before I sign off, I just went through a move, first time in about 12 years, and I'm definitely feeling what you're writing about here. And I might have actually stolen a couple of your ideas for my chorus.
Awesome. Thanks, Victor. Tamara.
When Mike and I are eating dinner at home in the kitchen, we start to discuss. I'm worried and Mike is annoyed. I imagine the weight hanging over my head, afraid of losing health. It's about to fall any minute now, afraid of losing you.
Ah, awesome. That's a great way to tie the afraid of losing in. Yeah. Awesome. Nice work, Tamara. Can you see yourself turning that into something?
Yes.
Well done. Perfect. Daniel.
Thank you. So the verse was, the moment I wake up, the battle starts. Laying in bed, mistakes run through my heart, my mind. That space just needs a spark to break through and win today and leave the dark. And then the chorus would be, it's the same fight every day. It's too much. I'm steadfast every day until I'm done. I give all I got today. It's not enough. Some days are better, but today is too much.
Yes. That was great.
Thank you.
Super hooky. And it fit perfectly with the verse. I loved it. Nice job. Chuck. Oh, you're on mute.
Again, Afraid of Losing was my title. Verse goes, there's no escaping this day, nor the wind or the rain, like your footsteps in the sand. Sometimes life's erased by the waves. Chorus is, the choices we make, the things we break, the love we take. Oh, 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 I'm afraid of losing. I'm afraid of losing. I'm afraid of losing you.
Awesome. Nice work of repetition. Yeah, I love it. Nice job.
I've been studying up a little bit that when you repeat 3 times and change the repetition in the third repeating of the third line, it's something that's commonly done. It's nice to change the third time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Awesome. Nice work. David.
Okay. My verse again was, stuck in place as the present moves forward. Everywhere and nowhere, you're beyond reach. As my joys become your burdens, I feel nothing but longing and guilt. And then my chorus is lose too much if you go too fast, hold too close, you don't move at all, suffer too much if you go too slow, pass it down because you can't move on.
Awesome. It feels very like the rhyme schemes and kind of the structure feels very unstable. So it kind of it has good prosody with what you're trying to say and the mood of the song. It kind of feels like we don't necessarily know where it's going, which I think works really well. Nice job.
Thank you.
Stu.
So the verse. You can hear me okay? Yep.
Yep, I can hear you.
The verse, a normal Thursday morning, no more. The day I met Colette. Who is this, filling all my vision? Seems I can see nothing but her. Too much, I'm feeling like I'm falling. Too much, I'm losing myself. Too much, her smile, her voice, her eyes. Too far, too fast, it's all too much.
Awesome. See, doesn't the thing about using these templates is you sort of instantly get a nice repetition with your title, and it creates a nice sort of hooky chorus, because our chorus is where we want our listeners to be singing along. And that was really catchy, Stu. Nice job. Dory.
Okay, I think I did bookends, but I'm not sure. Mama saved us when our little souls were crushed. That night we ran away from a dad who drank too much, beaten and battered, living through hell. Mama held us in that cheap motel. She was our shield out of harm's way, said, don't cry, I got something to say. This hard life will hold your scars. They're part of who you are. Wounded but wise, learn lessons from those marks inside. They'll open your eyes. Will you live in dark or be a shining light? Choose your path in this hard life.
Ooh, yeah. That is a bookend. You started it with your title and then you ended it with the title. That was great. That was great, Dory.
Thanks.
Brian, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, I'm not happy with it, but whatever.
That's
All
okay.
right, let's see here. The verse is gripping the steering wheel tight, rain pouring down. Just want to make it home, dark and cold, just past midnight. A couple more hours to ride. And then the verse is too much crazy. Just want to chill, suicide jockey, trying to pass on the shoulder. Too much. And bright lights in my eyes. Where are you going? Nowhere. Just want to make it to the house. Too much. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. So,
No, I think you have a lot of cool imagery though that I think you could whittle it down to fit it into something that's really cool with the title. So I think you have a great start.
right on. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
All
Jeanette.
All right, so mine is too much. So it's again last week, you, another online disaster, another app to meet. Would have been potential, but no meat. But to no avail, I felt another chain broken, disconnected and disappointed. Too much, broken fragments, never put together. I walked out. It was all too much.
Might help if I unmute. That was great.
Thank you.
How are you feeling about it? Do you feel like that could turn into something with your, I know you're kind of a melody writer, but how are you feeling about it?
It's funny because I wrote something similar to it. Obviously, it's a different title, melody, all of it, but because that obviously I grabbed that title because I related to it like on quick response. Yeah, I could. There's so many stories about. I write stories also that hopefully people can also relate. You know, this whole online dating thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share before I show you something else here today? Oh, looks like Raziel has something in the chat. So she has verse 1. 3 years ago today, you said goodbye and headed to your new home in the sky. It makes me happy to believe you're not alone. I imagine all your dark clouds drift away, singing carols on Christmas Day. Chorus. I wish I could spend a day with you. Why did you have to leave so soon? I'd traveled past 1,000 moons. There's 1,000 things we could do. I wish I could spend a day with you. That's really sweet. I love the 1,000 moons line. That's a really great line, Rizal. Really nice job. Yeah, and such a great tribute to your mom. So hopefully you'll, continue writing that. That's great. Awesome. So I want to show you that these structures and these templates that I gave to you show up in a lot of very popular and commercial songs. So I wanted to show you examples of where they show up in some other songwriters' work. So I'm going to make sure I'm sharing my audio here. So we'll listen to some choruses. So the first structure, obviously we said, was the repetition of a chorus. So there's a song by Rihanna, or Rihanna sings it, called We Found Love. And it's just repeating a title line. It's just repeating the hook, and it goes like this. Their song section, like a post-chorus there. But that's the repeating title. You also have a song that has a chorus that ends, or the chorus itself is the all of swing lines, and then the title at the end. So the lyrics go, could be forever, we might break. That's just the kind of risk that we take. My head is yelling that I could get hurt, but I'm going to jump right in, baby, with my heart first. So the heart first is the title. That's at the end of the chorus. And I think I have this queued up. Maybe that's the title at the end. Now, a title at the beginning happens in a song by Jason Isbell called Cigarettes. Whoops, go back. Called Cigarettes and Wine. Starting with the hook. I love the simile that he used, or the metaphor of she lives down inside of me rolled up like a $20 bill. I think that's an awesome line. A song that goes swing line title, song by Jennifer Lopez. Obviously there's many songs that use these structures, but these are just kind of some examples. But this is a song called On the Floor. A line, then the title, line, then the title, and it extends a little bit there. Now we have title, swing line, title, swing line. This is a song by Lady Gaga called Edge of Glory. So it has the title in the first and third lines, and then swing lines for the second. Stack them. So you could have a start of a chorus doing one thing, and then you could end it doing another as well. But the final example here is the bookended chorus, and one song that does a bookended chorus is Raise Your Glass by Pink. So it says the bookended chorus. So what are your thoughts or observations as you listen to kind of those songs and kind of look at it from a different perspective? Tamara, what are your thoughts there?
Yes, I noticed that although parts of the chorus of each of these does fall into those patterns, it tends to be repeated more often than that.
Yeah, the title line for sure.
The title line tends to be repeated more often, yes.
Yep, because they want us to know this is my hook. This is what the song is about. Yeah, awesome. Jeanette.
Yeah, I like the variations of title, title, or whatever the other prompts were. I think it depends on how you're trying to display the message. Also, I mean, obviously you want to tell people what it's about, but it really does call upon it, but you won't know it until you get it like in the middle of the song. At least that's what I discovered.
Yeah, so you mean in the writing process, you don't necessarily know what's going to work best until you get further
Exactly.
along?
Yeah, exactly. You can't just like plan, oh, I'm gonna have it here, and you can't do that, because sometimes, just like when you tell a story to someone, like if you're talking to somebody, you don't know if you're gonna start, like claiming emotions. You might start to feel down talking about it, or you might be like, oh, relieved about it, like, oh, I'm so glad it's over. So
Yeah.
it depends, you know what I mean? So
Well, and I think that's a really great point. Like sometimes, and I think what really good songwriters get really good at is they go where the song needs to go, not trying to put their full intention into it.
right.
You know, because you could force something, right? But if you get halfway through a song and you realize, like, wait, I've been writing about something completely different, or I could make this better. Don't just go with your original thought because it was your original thought. Like, follow where the song should go and do what's best for the song. Because it's sometimes what we start out with is definitely not where we end. So yeah, really good point. Dory.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the genre also and the production can determine the repetition part. I'm thinking if you do a quiet singer-songwriter ballad in a very intimate environment, generally it's stated once, made very profound statement, and then you move on. Where in the pop thing, if there's more of a groove happening and it's so doggone catchy, it gets in your DNA, then you want to hear it over and over and over again.
Yeah. No, genres have different uses of the tools, right? They have different things that become the spotlight. Whereas in pop music, a lot is the groove and the repetition. And you're completely right, Dory, where like a singer-songwriter is not going to just stand up there and repeat the same line unless that's for effect, right? But most of the time it is going to be a little bit more lyrically focused, more so than the groove. Victor, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, this whole process this morning, like Jeanette, I started off with kind of an idea of where I thought things were going to go. And then as I started working into it, I started seeing a different light, if you will, but the emotion stayed the same. I mean, knew the character was very uncertain about his situation and where it was going to. But the whole backstory changed for me. And so, story is a big thing for me. I've always said a song is a story, and sometimes it tells a tale, but a song is a story. So if you know the story, then the form starts helping you shape that. And so the thing I like about the sense writing, and then this, particularly with the scenes, is that the sooner you can take that amorphous emotion and start to pour it into some kind of shape, it starts to become real for you. And then you start coming up with little phrases and lyrics. And then that helps you, well, that's not the right shape, but it's more like this kind of a shape. And you start to move forward. Before I started hanging out with you, I never could have made a verse and a chorus in that amount of time. And I'm still not sure I have a finished lyric here. I'm positive I don't, but I have a form. I have something I can now start shaping lyrics onto. But that story, that scene, and then the emotion, if you can hang on to those, it may be a rough ride, but man, you can get there to the end of it, I think.
Yeah, and that's the key to when you do these exercises and when you write like this is, sometimes you're going to sit down and you're going to have a ton of inspiration and you're going to know exactly what you want to say. It just kind of like plops out. But then there's other times where the muse doesn't show up that day, right? And then you can go back to some of these techniques or some of these exercises and just say, you know what, I'm going to pick a title and I'm going to see what I come up with. And I think to your point, Victor, it's like, what you're doing is you're creating something to edit and you're creating something to mold. I think there was a quote on Twitter. Jason Isbell said, like, nobody has editor's block. We have writer's block. Everybody can edit something. So the key is you just have to get something, because then you can actually develop it. So I think that's a great way to think about it for sure. Daniel, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is so important, and I didn't know it was. I've been writing lyrics for decades now, but I took a lot of time off. Just recently, I started back into it because I moved to a new place and I needed something to do, so I picked up the hobby again. That said, though, I didn't have a formula for any of it. And I would just write whatever came to mind, but it never came with any emotion. And while my lyrics I felt were strong, it never made me feel anything. And that one simple thing made me realize that my songwriting could use some help. I've actually written something recently using what you've taught me. And it's much more emotional and much better than anything I've written. Anyway, just wanted to say that emotion is important.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great, Daniel. I'm glad that, these things are helping. And Victor, I know you've said that it's changed your writing, your songwriting too. So that's awesome. David in the chat says, I love this. This will be a fun topic to talk about for a little while here too. So he says, love the workshop, but sometimes I feel like I'm having a magician's secrets revealed. So it's cool to learn, but then I fear that the magic might be lost when you start to actually see the patterns, but it definitely helps one craft more listenable songs. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it actually helps you notice when there really is a really good song though, because you don't see the tools. You will start to spot songs that are maybe not as well crafted or maybe not as well written because you'll be able to see what's happening. But then there's other songs that still are just magic, right? And those are it makes you appreciate the really good stuff a lot more. And it makes you, for me, it makes me want to strive to write like that, if that makes sense. But how do others feel about that? Once you start learning some of this stuff, it does kind of take some of the magic out for sure. But it's probably like an interior designer, right? Like I don't understand people who can walk into an empty room and they can literally envision how it could be remodeled or how it could be restructured. And I'm like, no idea. But then they start doing it. And then it's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like that's their craft. Songwriting is kind of our craft. We learn where to put the furniture, kind of a thing. Victor. Oh, you're on mute.
It blinked, but it didn't work. I totally agree with you, Chad. Using your techniques for songwriting has changed the way I listen to stuff on the radio or on Spotify. And you're right. I often will. Now I'll hear like that Jason Isbell, man, that was a moving piece of lyric. So you really see when something is very good. And then there are times when there are songs that I like the beat and I like the melody, but the lyrics are just all kind of, I just shake my head and think, I wouldn't have gone there. I wouldn't have done that. And of course that just feeds back. So yeah, David, I think the whole thing about writing is more about what you're taking off than what you're putting on, right? It's a little bit like being naked, but sometimes that can be fun.
Yeah. So what popped into my head, Victor, when you said that about some songs, you listen on, we say the radio, but honestly, most of us listen to playlists and stuff now. But the thing about music is there's a place for everything, right? And songs that are not lyrically focused are not going to have as deep of lyrics as like a Jason Isbell song, right? Like J-Lo is not going to say the things that Jason Isbell does. Does that make J-Lo any worse or any better than Jason Isbell? No, because they're a different, think of it like food. Some people like Mexican food. Some people don't like Mexican food. Some people like Italian food. And you have all of these variations in between. Like you have the instant, dinners that are microwavable, like chicken Alfredo, nothing but salt and preservatives meal, right? Like that's certain types of food. And then you have your gourmet restaurants. Like you have that whole spectrum of music as well. And what I don't like is when people try to say like one style is not as good because of XYZ. Everybody puts their heart and soul into whatever music they make. And it's the same with food. There's a time when you just want to eat junk, and then there's a time where you want really good food. And that's kind of how music works too, I think.
Yeah, Chad, no, I think I agree with that. But there's a big difference between like a chain Pepino's and a real Mexican mom and pop restaurant, right? I mean, you can taste the
Yeah.
difference, and that for me is where the line is how genuine is the emotion. And so I guess
Yep.
what I was referring to is you're right. I mean, my dirty little secret is REO Speedwagon. There, I said it. I don't know. I shouldn't like them. I know better, but I still, whenever I hear them come on the radio, it just lights me all up. I feel my brain, just all those neurons going. I just like them, even though I really shouldn't. And I've appalled all of my friends by saying that. So you're right. Every once in a while, you just want it because it's fun, right? You just want to
Yeah.
set of McDonald's fries just because it's fun to eat them. But for me, what I think what I meant by that was, the emotion, as long as they're staying true to that. But sometimes when I hear songs that I think that could have been better, it's because I felt the lyric drifted away from its focus. It drifted away from its emotion, or it kind of cheapened the emotion, right? It went for the easy thing, the lazy thing,
Yeah.
rather than, oh, one more rewrite, that last line would have been just devastating, right?
Or it's all cliche rhyme schemes. Like you could almost write it yourself as you listen to it. That's what bugs me, is when it's like the lyrics are super predictable. That's what bothers me. But yeah, it's all personal opinion for sure. All right. Well, that's all that I really have for today. Is there any other topics that you want to talk about before we start to wrap up today? Hopefully this is helpful. I would encourage you to try the techniques that we use to write with other titles that you come up with, other ideas that you come up with, and hopefully it helps you, create some more songs. So the next workshop that's coming up is actually January 6th. We're going to be doing a workshop on rhyme. So all of us know that songs rhyme, but do you really understand how to use rhyme as a tool instead of just something that you think you should use or you have to use? We're going to talk about what is rhyme actually doing and how can it be your, how does your how can you use rhyme as a tool? So yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. Hopefully you'll finish some of the songs that you started, and I will see you January 6th. Also, Paul Beckerman and I are going to do a YouTube live stream on December 28th. So we'll be doing that too. Rassi, did you have your hand raised?
Sorry, your new EP that you're working on, what would be the focus?
Oh, my album that I'm working on?
Yeah, what's the focus?
I don't necessarily know yet. It's a bunch of songs at this point, but I don't know if they fit together in kind of a theme. I'm not necessarily writing from a theme, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some of the songs are about like kind of some of the crap that's going on in the world and kind of the emotions around that. There's also some made up sort of like breakup songs and kind of a little bit of cliche stuff too. But yeah.
So do your previous EP projects, they focus on like something like Taylor Swift might be talking about relationships, how it's going bad, or Rihanna, or what's another person? Mary J. Blige, how she's going through a breakup or whatever. And that whole album or EP is really focused on her expressions or thoughts regarding the situation.
Yeah, a lot of the songs I just start from writing exercises and just see kind of where they go. So yeah, but yeah, there are definitely theme albums where, artists have something that they're going through and write a whole album about it, for sure. Yeah. Chuck.
Do you need a new razor for Christmas, Chad?
Oh, because I haven't been shaving?
Yeah, I think you need a new razor, maybe two of them.
Tell Josh that. Josh
Okay.
likes this.
I'll send you one. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining today. I will see you at the next workshops. And I just want to say this is the last workshop for this year. So 2023 has been great. It's been awesome to get to know all of you, and hopefully you'll keep coming back, as we continue to do these. And it's always fun to connect. So thank you so much.
Thanks,
right.
Thank you.
Jen.
Happy
Thanks, Jen.
Christmas.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.